The rain fell softly on the streets of Portland, a gentle reminder of the city's charm. I stood by the window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. Life outside continued, oblivious to my internal turmoil. My marriage had become a series of routines, predictable and dull. My husband, Mark, was consumed by work, leaving little room for us. I often found myself longing for connection in a world that felt increasingly distant. I had spent years trying to convince myself that everything was fine. We had built a life together, our home filled with memories of laughter and love. Yet, as I sipped my morning coffee, I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that gnawed at me. Each day blended into the next, leaving me yearning for something more than just the mundane. Mark rarely noticed my discontent. He was busy with meetings and business trips, his mind occupied with numbers and deadlines. I often felt like a ghost in our own home. The thought of confronting him about my feelings seemed daunting. What would it change? Would he even care? Instead, I buried myself in work at the local community center, organizing events and volunteering. It provided a distraction but didn't fill the void within me. One afternoon, while preparing for an upcoming festival downtown, I met Jake, the driver hired by Mark's company. He arrived early to pick up Mark for an important meeting. As he stepped out of the car, his easy smile and warm demeanor caught me off guard. There was something refreshing about him amidst my monotonous life. "Hi there. You must be Sarah," he said with a friendly wave. "Yes, that's me," I replied, surprised at how effortlessly he engaged in conversation. We talked briefly while waiting for Mark to finish getting ready. Jake asked about my work at the community center and shared stories about his own experiences driving around Portland. He spoke with genuine enthusiasm that made me smile, a rarity these days. As Mark finally emerged from our home, I felt an unexpected pang of disappointment at our conversation's end. "Have a great day," Jake called out as they drove away. In the following weeks, our paths crossed more often than I anticipated. Each time Jake came to pick up Mark or drop him off after long days at work, we exchanged brief pleasantries that gradually turned into longer conversations. There was something about Jake's presence that intrigued me. His laughter was infectious and brought warmth to my otherwise cold days. One rainy evening after a particularly exhausting week filled with community events and endless phone calls from Mark's office, I found myself sitting alone in a quiet cafe near our neighborhood, the kind of place where you could lose track of time over a cup of coffee or tea while watching raindrops race down the windowpanes. To my surprise, Jake walked in just as I took my seat by the window. He spotted me immediately and approached with that familiar smile that made my heart flutter unexpectedly. "Mind if I join you?" he asked casually. "Not at all," I replied, feeling both excited and nervous. We talked for hours about everything, our dreams, favorite books, and even our childhood memories, while rain pattered softly outside like nature's own soundtrack to our growing connection. With each shared story, I felt walls within me slowly crumbling down. It was liberating to speak freely without judgment or expectation. But deep inside lurked an unsettling awareness. This connection could lead me down a dangerous path, one filled with secrets and lies hidden beneath layers of longing and desire. As we stood outside after finishing our drinks under an awning sheltering us from the rain's embrace, Jake looked into my eyes with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "You know," he began softly, "I really enjoy spending time with you." His words hung in the air like unspoken possibilities waiting to unfold between us, a spark igniting amidst uncertainty. "I do too," I admitted quietly, but felt torn between loyalty to Mark and this newfound connection simmering beneath the surface. Jake stepped closer as raindrops fell around us like confetti, celebrating an unspoken bond forming between two strangers navigating their lives through storms both literal and metaphorical. That night lingered in my mind long after we parted ways, a sweet taste tainted by guilt gnawing at my conscience as thoughts swirled around what could happen next if I allowed myself to explore this connection further. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen glances whenever Jake arrived for pickups or drop-offs, a silent acknowledgement lingering between us amidst ordinary exchanges that now felt charged with meaning beyond mere pleasantries exchanged out of obligation or duty bound by marriage vows fading into obscurity over time spent apart from one another, emotionally rather than physically. I found myself contemplating every interaction we shared, wondering if this spark could grow into something more substantial despite knowing full well where such desires might lead. Toward betrayal lurking just beneath the surface, waiting patiently until opportunity arose unannounced like thunder rumbling ominously overhead before pouring rain washed everything away, leaving only remnants behind scattered across muddy ground devoid of clarity, yet rich in potential nonetheless, all while remaining tethered still by invisible strings binding me back home where familiarity bred comfort yet suffocated ambition, simultaneously creating conflict within myself, unable yet unwilling fully commit either way toward one path or another, leading inevitably toward heartbreak regardless which choice ultimately became mine alone to make eventually when faced head-on without distractions clouding judgment any longer once decisions loomed large upon horizon demanding resolution soon enough, whether welcomed warmly or resisted fiercely, depending solely upon courage found deep within heart, yearning desperately escape confines imposed externally throughout years spent merely existing rather than truly living, fully alive, experiencing joy's small moments tucked away among chaos surrounding everyday life, filled mundane tasks often overlooked, easily forgotten until suddenly remembered vividly again, bringing forth nostalgia mingling bittersweetly alongside hope, promising brighter tomorrows ahead if only dared take first step forward, bravely embracing unknowns, awaiting discovery beyond comfort zones long since established, firmly rooted deep within familiar grounds traversed countless times before without hesitation, until now when everything began shifting ever so slightly, stirring restlessly beneath surface, yearning break free, finally breathe anew, unencumbered, unfettered, liberated, wholly transformed anew, embracing possibilities unfolding endlessly before me, beckoning forth daring challenge. Confront fears long buried deep inside, finally emerge victorious, reclaiming power lost somewhere along way, forgotten amidst noise, distractions drowning out whispers, calling forth truth hidden away, waiting patiently return once again. The rain fell softly as I stepped out of my house, a quiet reminder of the storm brewing within me. The air was thick with anticipation, each drop resonating with my unspoken desires. I had agreed to meet Jake at our usual spot, the cozy cafe tucked away from the bustling streets of Portland. It was a haven, a place where we could share our thoughts without fear of prying eyes. As I entered, the familiar scent of coffee enveloped me, mingling with the sweet aroma of pastries. Jake was already seated at our corner table, his smile warm and inviting. His presence felt like a breath of fresh air, invigorating and comforting all at once. I slid into the chair opposite him, feeling an electric current pass between us. "Hey," he said softly, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "You look beautiful today." "Thanks," I replied, trying to suppress the flutter in my chest. "How was your week?" "Busy with work," he shrugged. "But I always look forward to our time together." I nodded, feeling a pang of guilt twist in my stomach. Each moment spent with him felt like a betrayal, a secret stolen from my husband's obliviousness. Yet here we were, two souls connecting over shared dreams and unfulfilled lives. We talked about everything and nothing, our hopes for the future, our favorite books, and silly childhood memories that made us laugh until tears filled our eyes. With each passing minute, the walls around my heart began to crumble. I found myself sharing parts of me that had long been hidden away. I used to love painting, I confessed, tracing a pattern on the table with my finger. But somewhere along the way, I stopped. "Why?" Jake asked genuinely. "Life got in the way," I sighed. Responsibilities took over. He leaned closer, his voice low and encouraging. "You should pick it up again. It's never too late to rediscover what makes you happy." His words hung in the air between us like an unspoken promise, a glimmer of hope that perhaps there was still time for me to reclaim myself amidst the chaos. As we continued talking, laughter flowed easily between us until it felt like we were in our own little world separate from reality outside those cafe walls. But even as joy filled my heart, shadows lurked just beyond reach. The fear of being discovered gnawed at me relentlessly. What if someone saw us? What if my husband found out? The thought sent chills down my spine. After what felt like hours wrapped in conversation and laughter, we decided to take a walk through one of Portland's quiet parks nearby. The rain had eased into a gentle drizzle that danced on our skin as we strolled along winding paths lined with blooming flowers and lush greenery. "Isn't it beautiful?" Jake asked as he gestured towards a cluster of cherry blossoms swaying delicately in the breeze. "It really is," I replied softly, captivated by both nature's beauty and his presence beside me. In that moment, underneath the canopy created by branches above, we paused to share another lingering glance. Something shifted within me then. An undeniable connection surged between us like electricity igniting a spark long dormant within my heart. Without thinking twice about it or considering consequences looming overhead, I leaned closer until our lips met for that brief intoxicating moment beneath raindrops falling gently around us, a kiss that tasted like freedom wrapped in longing and desire. The world faded away as everything else ceased to exist except for him and me. Two souls intertwined, momentarily lost amid chaos surrounding our lives outside this sanctuary we'd created together, even if only for an instant before reality came crashing back down again, reminding us both how fragile this all truly was. "What are we doing?" I whispered against his lips after pulling away reluctantly, breathless yet exhilarated from such spontaneity. "I don't know," he admitted quietly but confidently, meeting my gaze unwaveringly despite uncertainty lingering just beneath surface level between us both. An understanding shared without needing words spoken aloud, further complicating things already tangled up inside each other's hearts even more deeply than anticipated before, now revealing layers hidden away previously locked tightly behind walls built up over years gone by, spent merely existing rather than truly living, fully alive, embracing every moment offered forth freely without hesitation or fear holding back any more ever again. As we continued walking side by side under gray skies now heavy with moisture clinging onto everything around us, it struck me how easy it had become just being here together, sharing laughter, dreams, hopes, desires, spilling forth freely, unrestricted, openly, without reservations, weighing heavily down upon shoulders burdened long enough, already carrying so much throughout life's journey. Thus far leading towards this very point where paths converged unexpectedly, leading towards something new yet unfamiliar, beckoning forth daring exploration into uncharted territories, waiting patiently just beyond comfort zones established firmly over time, previously traversed countless times before, now shifting ever so slightly, stirring restlessly beneath surface. Yearning, break free, finally breathe anew, unencumbered, unfettered, liberated, wholly transformed anew, embracing possibilities unfolding endlessly before me, beckoning forth daring challenge, confront fears long buried deep inside, finally emerge victorious, reclaiming power lost somewhere along way, forgotten amidst noise, distractions, drowning out whispers, calling forth truth hidden away, waiting patiently, return once again. But then reality intruded upon this blissful moment abruptly when thoughts shifted back towards home. The emptiness awaiting return loomed large, casting shadows across everything, brightening up life right now, reminding me how fragile this newfound happiness truly was. One wrong move could shatter it all into pieces, leaving nothing but regret behind instead. I glanced sideways at Jake, whose expression mirrored mine. An internal battle raging beneath calm exterior, hiding deeper truths lurking just beneath surface level, yearning desperately break free while simultaneously holding tight onto what little remained left behind, already lost somewhere along way prior, never fully realized until now, awakening slowly, bringing forth clarity, illuminating paths forward yet still uncertain where they might lead, ultimately ending up exactly where needed most. Perhaps after all, when least expected. What happens next? I asked, tentatively breaking silence hanging thickly around us, now feeling heavier than rain itself, pressing down upon shoulders weighed down under burdens carried far too long, already yearning release, desperately wanting escape from confines, trapping spirit within confines. Built up over time ever since beginning journey taken years ago, leading towards this very point where crossroads appeared suddenly, catching off guard, leaving unsure which direction take next, moving forward into unknowns. Awaiting discovery beyond comfort zones long since established, firmly rooted deep within familiar grounds, traversed countless times before without hesitation, until now when everything began shifting ever so slightly, stirring restlessly beneath surface, yearning break free, finally breathe anew, unencumbered, unfettered, liberated, wholly transformed anew, embracing possibilities unfolding endlessly before me, beckoning forth, daring challenge, confront fears long buried deep inside, finally emerge victorious, reclaiming power lost somewhere along way, forgotten amidst noise, distractions, drowning out whispers, calling forth truth hidden away, waiting patiently, return once again. Jake hesitated for just a heartbeat longer than necessary before answering, thoughtfully weighing every word carefully chosen before letting them slip past lips, softly spoken, barely above whisper, barely audible above sound, rain falling steadily all around. Enveloping warmth shared between two souls intertwined, momentarily lost amid chaos surrounding lives outside sanctuary, created together even if only for an instant before reality came crashing back down again, reminding both how fragile this all truly was. The vibrant atmosphere of the Portland Festival buzzed with excitement, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within me. Colorful stalls lined the street, filled with local crafts and tempting food. I had always loved this festival, but today, it felt different. As I walked through the crowd, my heart raced at the thought of seeing Jake again. The anticipation was intoxicating, yet laced with anxiety. I spotted him leaning against a wooden post, his dark hair slightly damp from the drizzle that had begun to fall. He looked up as I approached, a warm smile breaking across his face. In that moment, all my worries seemed to fade away. "Hey," he greeted softly, his voice barely audible above the laughter and music surrounding us. "Hi," I replied, trying to sound casual despite the fluttering in my stomach. "I'm glad we could meet here." Jake stepped closer, the familiar scent of rain-soaked earth and his cologne enveloping me. "I've been looking forward to this all week." His eyes sparkled with mischief and sincerity. We wandered through the festival together, sharing stories and laughter as if we were old friends rather than two people caught in a web of secrecy. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, an escape from reality that I craved more than I wanted to admit. As we reached a quieter corner of the park, away from the bustling crowd, Jake's expression shifted. The playful banter faded into something more serious. "You okay?" he asked gently. I hesitated before answering. My heart sank at the thought of my husband waiting at home, oblivious to where I was and what I was doing. "Just thinking about everything," I finally said. He nodded slowly, understanding etched on his face. "You don't have to worry about me," he reassured me. "But if you need someone to talk to." Before he could finish his thought, an old friend from college spotted us and called out my name. My stomach dropped as she approached with an inquisitive look in her eyes. "Sarah. Is that you?" She smiled brightly, but her gaze flickered between Jake and me, suspicion rising like smoke in a fire. "Hey. It's been ages." I forced a smile, hoping she wouldn't pry too deeply into our connection. She hugged me tightly before stepping back and studying Jake curiously. "And who's this?" "This is," panic surged through me as I scrambled for words that wouldn't betray our secret. "Jake is just helping me navigate through the festival." "Oh. Nice to meet you," she chirped, extending her hand towards him with an enthusiasm that felt misplaced given my growing anxiety. Jake shook her hand politely while shooting me a glance filled with concern. I could feel my heart racing as our friend continued chatting animatedly about mutual acquaintances and memories we shared long ago. In an attempt to deflect attention away from us, I joined in on her stories but couldn't shake off the feeling that she sensed something amiss between Jake and me. Our shared glances spoke volumes, fear mingled with longing as we both understood how precarious this situation had become. After what felt like an eternity of small talk, she finally excused herself to grab some food from one of the stalls nearby. As soon as she disappeared into the crowd, Jake turned toward me with urgency etched on his features. "That was close," he said quietly but firmly. I nodded slowly, anxiety twisted within me like a knot tightening around my chest. What if she tells someone? What if someone finds out? "It doesn't have to be like this," he replied softly but confidently. "We can figure it out together." His words hung heavy in the air between us, a promise wrapped in uncertainty, and before rational thoughts could settle back into place, something took over. In one impulsive moment driven by raw emotion and desire for connection amid chaos surrounding us, our lips met. The world around us faded into oblivion as time stood still for those fleeting seconds filled with warmth and longing, a brief escape from reality that left both exhilarated and terrified simultaneously when it ended abruptly. "What are we doing?" My voice trembled slightly as reality crashed back down upon us like cold water splashed against bare skin after too long under warm sunbeams. "I don't know," he admitted honestly while searching my eyes for answers neither of us possessed at that moment. A mixture of exhilaration and dread swirled within me. This was not just an innocent kiss. It was a pivotal moment laden with consequences waiting just beyond reach outside our little bubble created amidst vibrant chaos surrounding us, both now shattered by unexpected intrusion moments earlier leaving behind questions lingering unanswered, tauntingly echoing within, mind racing, desperately seeking clarity amidst confusion threatening consume everything whole. As we stepped back apart, cautiously glancing around, ensuring no one had witnessed our impulsive act, my heart raced not only from thrill experienced moments earlier but also fear gripping tightly around throat, squeezing breathlessly, reminding how fragile everything truly was. The very fabric holding lives together beginning unravel right before eyes, slowly revealing truths better left hidden beneath surface calm facade maintained for far too long, now fraying edges threatening expose vulnerability. Laid bare, raw, unguarded, unprotected against harsh winds swirling outside sanctuary created together, even if only for brief instant before reality crashed down again, reminding both how tenuous balance struck between desire, loyalty, commitment, love, ultimately rested precariously upon choices made. "I should get going," I whispered, suddenly feeling exposed under scrutiny, invisible yet palpable, hanging thickly between us like heavy mist refusing lift even when bright sun shone overhead, illuminating everything around, casting shadows longer than life itself, leaving behind traces, memories haunting, lingering long after moments passed, fading slowly, eventually becoming distant echoes lost forever, time never returning once gone. Jake nodded reluctantly, understanding etched across features mirroring mine, reflecting shared turmoil swirling beneath surface, emotions battling fiercely, raging war waged silently, fought within hearts yearning, navigate treacherous waters without capsizing amidst storms brewing, unseen, threatening, swallow whole everything cherished, deeply held, close, tightly guarded, fiercely protected against outside forces beyond control. "Let's meet again soon." His voice broke through silence, wrapping around words spoken softly, gently, urging hope still flickering alive though dimmed slightly by uncertainty looming large ahead, casting shadows darker than night, enveloping paths chosen leading somewhere unknown yet undeniably necessary. Confront head-on regardless outcome, faced bravely without hesitation despite fears lurking just beneath surface, waiting patiently, ready strike when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made a long way. "Yes," came response, barely above whisper, barely escaping, lips trembling, slightly unsure whether meant truly or simply comforting, notion clung desperately onto fleeting moments, shared need, reassurance, grounding, stability amidst chaos swirling endlessly around, threatening pull under, drown, lost forever, never returning once gone. As we parted ways amidst throngs, bustling, lively festival atmosphere fading behind, footsteps echoing loudly within ears, ringing reminders, choices made lingered hauntingly, trailing behind every step taken forward toward uncertain future awaiting, patiently filled With possibilities yet fraught, dangers lurking, shadows lurking beyond sight, waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made a long way. With the night still holding on to us, the weight of our shared secrets settled heavily in the air. I glanced at Jake, his eyes reflecting uncertainty and hope. The quiet of the room wrapped around us, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. We had found solace in each other amidst the storm brewing in my life. "Are you sure this is what you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The question hung between us, an unspoken acknowledgement of the precariousness of our situation. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart racing at the honesty of my response. "I just feel lost." We spent the night together, wrapped in conversations that danced around our fears and desires. As we talked about dreams that felt so distant yet so close, I could sense Jake's longing for something more concrete between us. I admired his ambition and passion. It reminded me of a time when I too had dreams that soared high above mundane realities. Yet, there was a nagging voice in my head, the voice of commitment and loyalty to my husband. Each moment spent with Jake felt like both an escape and a betrayal. I couldn't shake off the guilt that crept in during quiet moments when I thought about my marriage. Morning light filtered through the curtains as I lay awake, contemplating my choices. The warmth beside me was comforting but also served as a reminder of what was at stake. My phone buzzed on the bedside table, breaking through my thoughts. It was a message from my husband. "Change of plans for today, I'm canceling my meeting." Panic surged within me like cold water rushing over my skin. Why now? My heart raced as I considered what this meant for our secret. My world felt like it was tilting dangerously on its axis. "What's wrong?" Jake asked sleepily, sensing my tension. "My husband, he canceled an important meeting," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. Jake frowned slightly, concern etching across his features. "What does that mean for us?" "It means he'll be home today," I whispered, dread pooling in my stomach. The thought of facing him while hiding this part of myself felt unbearable. We spent breakfast in silence, tension thickening with every passing minute. Jake's usual bright demeanor dimmed as he sensed my unease. He reached across the table to hold my hand, grounding me momentarily as if to say we were still connected despite looming shadows. "Sarah," he said softly after a pause, "I want you to be happy." His sincerity pierced through me like an arrow aimed directly at my heart. "I know," I murmured back, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "But how can I be happy when everything feels so wrong?" As we faced each other across that small cafe table, a place where laughter once flowed freely, now felt heavy with unspoken truths and unresolved feelings. My mind raced with possibilities. How would this day unfold? What would happen if he found out? I excused myself to gather my thoughts outside for a moment while Jake paid for breakfast. The crisp morning air hit me like an awakening slap. It brought clarity amid confusion swirling within me. The streets were alive with people going about their day, children laughing, couples strolling hand in hand, but all I felt was isolation. The rain began to fall lightly from gray clouds overhead as if reflecting my inner turmoil, a gentle reminder that storms always pass but can leave destruction behind them too. Would this storm wash away everything I held dear? When Jake joined me outside moments later under a shared umbrella, we stood close together but worlds apart emotionally. "You okay?" he asked cautiously. "I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this," I confessed quietly as raindrops began to soak into our clothes, a metaphor for how deeply intertwined our lives had become despite our best efforts to keep things separate. Jake's expression turned serious. He stepped closer into my personal space as if trying to shield me from both rain and reality closing in around us. "What do you want?" "I want," the words caught in throat, a wish tangled up between love and loyalty, before spilling out into open air like raindrops falling onto pavement below without direction or purpose. His gaze searched mine intensely. It was almost painful how much understanding lay beneath those dark eyes filled with longing, a longing mirrored within myself yet complicated by circumstances beyond our control. Before either of us could speak again or make any decisions about what came next, what would happen after today, my phone buzzed once more insistently against fabric dampened by rainwater pooling around our feet. It was another message from him. Where are you? Let's talk. My heart sank further into despair. Dread washed over me like waves crashing against rocks, eroding their strength slowly but surely over time until nothing remained except memories scattered along shorelines long forgotten by those who once cherished them dearly. Sarah? Jake prompted, gently breaking through fog enveloping thoughts racing wildly inside, head spinning out control, unable grasp consequences looming ahead, just waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing choices made along way. I have to go, I finally said after swallowing hard against lump-forming throat, threatening choke words back down deep where they belonged, hidden away safe from prying eyes seeking answers never truly understood unless lived firsthand, experiencing every joy, every sorrow intertwined, inseparably, forever changing course, lives traveled together, now split apart, diverging paths leading unknown destinations, awaiting discovery yet fraught dangers, lurking shadows lurking beyond sight, waiting patiently. Ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made along way. With one last lingering look exchanged between us filled with unsaid promises left hanging heavy between breaths drawn shallowly, the weight of everything pressing down upon shoulders burdened, carrying secrets only shared under cover darkness, shielding truth hidden behind closed doors locked tight, never meant open except perhaps one day when courage found its way through fear, guiding steps forward toward light, illuminating paths once shrouded, mystery now revealed, slowly unraveling, threads woven tightly, fabric, lives intertwined, forever changed irrevocably. The sun dipped low in the Portland sky, casting long shadows across the living room. The air felt thick with unspoken words. I paced, my heart racing as I replayed the events of the day. Jake had hinted at wanting more, and now, standing on this precipice of uncertainty, I felt a crack forming in my carefully constructed facade. I glanced at the clock. My husband, Mark, would be home soon. The thought sent a jolt through me. Would he sense the tension? Would he notice the shift in my demeanor? The last few weeks had been a whirlwind of emotions, each moment with Jake deepening my confusion while simultaneously igniting a flame I thought had long extinguished. As I stood by the window, watching raindrops race down the glass, memories flooded back, the laughter shared with Mark during our early years, those spontaneous road trips filled with music and adventure. Yet here I was now, suffocating under expectations and routine. My heart ached for connection, for something real that felt lost in monotony. The door creaked open, and Mark stepped inside, shaking off droplets from his coat. He looked tired but offered me a faint smile. "Hey there," he said lightly, his voice carrying an air of familiarity that felt increasingly distant. "Hi," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. He dropped his bag near the door and headed to the kitchen. "How was your day?" "Same as always," I answered too quickly. The words hung awkwardly in the air between us. Mark opened the fridge and pulled out a beer. "Want one?" "No thanks." I turned away from him, focusing on a framed photo on the wall, a snapshot from happier times when we still understood each other without words. He took a sip and leaned against the counter casually but didn't seem to notice my inner turmoil. "I was thinking we could go out this weekend, maybe dinner at that new Italian place?" "Sure," I said absent-mindedly. He studied me for a moment before responding. "You okay?" "You seem off." "Just tired," I lied again. The silence stretched between us like an unwelcome guest. Mark returned to his beer while I wrestled with thoughts of Jake's proposal for something deeper, a relationship that might fill this void growing inside me but also terrified me with its implications. Suddenly, there was a knock at our door. My heart raced again. Could it be Jake? But no, it was just our neighbor asking to borrow some sugar. As Mark chatted amiably with her, I felt like an outsider in my own life, watching them share pleasantries while my mind spun in circles around what could have been if circumstances were different. Once she left, Mark turned back to me with curiosity etched on his face. "What's really going on?" I hesitated. Honesty seemed like an insurmountable wall between us now. "I don't know how to explain it." His brow furrowed slightly as he took another sip of beer. "If something's bothering you." "It's nothing." My voice was firmer than before but lacked conviction. Mark sighed heavily and ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that signaled frustration or exhaustion or both combined into one overwhelming feeling. "We've been distant lately." I nodded slowly. It wasn't just lately. It was months and years even, of drifting apart without acknowledgement or confrontation until now when everything seemed to collide at once. "I just want us to be okay," he continued softly. But how could we be okay when my heart was tethered elsewhere? My thoughts drifted back to Jake, the warmth of his presence and how easy it had been to talk about dreams and fears without judgment or pretense. "I'm trying," I finally admitted quietly as tears threatened to spill over unbidden. Mark stepped closer but didn't reach out for me. Instead, he searched my eyes for answers that remained buried deep within myself, a labyrinth of conflicting emotions that offered no clear path forward. "I love you," he said earnestly after what felt like an eternity of silence hanging between us like fog rolling over Portland streets at dawn, a beautiful yet haunting reminder of all we'd built together even amidst cracks forming beneath our feet. "I love you too," came out almost instinctively, yet it felt hollow against everything else swirling within me. The shadows cast by choices made in secret moments shared under city lights where our lips met, unexpectedly igniting flames long forgotten yet still flickering beneath layers upon layers built up over years spent together navigating life's ups and downs, hand in hand until now when everything seemed poised precariously on edge waiting for one misstep. As dusk settled outside our windows cloaking everything in shades of gray reminiscent of storm clouds gathering overhead readying themselves for rain once more, I heard another knock echo through our home, this time sharper, more urgent than before, causing both Mark and me to freeze mid-breath, caught between uncertainty lingering heavy around us, waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made along way. Mark glanced toward the door, then back at me, concern etched deeper into his features as if sensing something beyond mere curiosity lurking just outside, waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made a long way. "What if it's important?" he asked hesitantly, stepping toward entrance, unsure whether curiosity outweighed caution or vice versa as tension crackled around us, thickening atmosphere already charged with emotions swirling wildly beneath surface, threatening spill over into chaos if not contained. I held my breath, bracing myself against what lay beyond those walls, knowing fully well whatever awaited us there carried weight far heavier than either one could bear alone, yet somehow intertwined, forever changing course, lives traveled together, now split apart, diverging paths leading unknown destinations, awaiting discovery, yet fraught dangers lurking, shadows lurking beyond sight, waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, unprepared, facing consequences, choices made along way. Mark opened the door slowly, revealing not another neighbor but rather someone unexpected altogether. A figure standing drenched from head to toe, soaked through by rain cascading down from above, pooling around feet, creating puddles, reflecting light, fading fast, casting shadows deeper still, enveloping both him me into darkness, surrounding all we'd known thus far, leaving behind only echoes, memories lingering faintly behind closed doors locked tight, never meant open except perhaps one day when courage found its way through fear, guiding steps forward toward light, illuminating paths once shrouded mystery, now revealed, slowly unraveling threads woven tightly, fabric lives intertwined, forever changed irrevocably. In that moment, The weight of everything pressing down upon shoulders burdened carrying secrets only shared under cover darkness shielding truth hidden behind closed doors locked tight never meant open except perhaps one day when courage found its way through fear guiding steps forward toward light illuminating paths once shrouded mystery now revealed slowly unraveling threads woven tightly fabric lives intertwined forever changed irrevocably. Sarah, Mark's voice broke through my reverie snapping focus back onto reality. We weren't alone anymore, and whatever lay ahead would change everything. The silence between Mark and me stretched uncomfortably, the air thick with unspoken words. I could see the confusion in his eyes, mingled with hurt. He stood there, arms crossed, as if trying to shield himself from the raw truth hanging between us. Sarah, what's going on? His voice was steady, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in my mind. I had rehearsed this moment countless times, yet now that it was here, my thoughts tangled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. I hesitated. How could I explain the weight of my discontent? The longing that had led me to Jake? I've been feeling lost. Lost? His brows knitted together as he took a step closer. You mean to tell me you're unhappy? With us? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud threatening rain. It's not just about us, I replied cautiously. It's about everything, the routine, the distance. My voice trailed off as memories flooded back, laughter replaced by silence, dreams exchanged for obligations. Mark's expression shifted from confusion to frustration. You think I don't feel it too? I'm working hard for us. For our future. His words were sharp, each one a reminder of the life we had built together. I know, I murmured, guilt gnawing at me. But it feels like we're just coexisting. There's no connection anymore. He looked away, and in that moment, I sensed a shift within him, a crack in his armor. What do you want from me? The question echoed painfully in my chest. What did I want? A part of me craved clarity, another part feared what lay beyond the truth. Maybe we need to talk about how we can fix this, I suggested tentatively. Fix what? He snapped back. You mean fix your feelings for him? The accusation stung more than I anticipated. No. It's not like that. My heart raced as his words cut deeper than intended. Jake he's just someone who listens. And I don't? Mark's voice softened slightly but still held an edge of disbelief. You do, I insisted, desperation creeping into my tone. But it feels different with him, like he sees me. Then go be with him. Mark's frustration erupted into anger before he could contain it. If that's what you want. The implication hung heavy between us. His words ignited a spark of fear within me. But before I could respond, Mark turned away abruptly and stormed out of the room. I stood frozen for a moment, grappling with the reality of our conversation and its implications. Had I pushed him too far? My heart raced as uncertainty settled in. What if this was it? As minutes passed like hours, my phone buzzed on the table beside me, a text from Jake lighting up the screen. Can we meet? I hesitated before typing back, I need to talk. The weight of my choices pressed down on me as anxiety swirled within. Later that evening at our usual cafe, shadows danced across the walls as dim lights flickered overhead. Jake sat at our corner table, his expression unreadable as he glanced up from his phone when I approached. Hey, he greeted softly but with an intensity that made my heart race. An intensity that felt both comforting and terrifying. Hey, I replied awkwardly as I slid into the chair opposite him. We sat in silence for a moment before Jake broke it gently. You seem distant. I'm trying to make sense of everything, I admitted quietly. His gaze pierced through me, there was concern etched on his features but also something else, an urgency that made my heart quicken again. Is it about Mark? I nodded slowly, feeling exposed under his scrutiny. We had a fight. What happened? His voice was low and steady. I took a deep breath and recounted our earlier conversation, the frustrations and emotions spilling out like water from a broken dam until finally everything came crashing down around us. Jake listened intently but didn't interrupt until I'd finished speaking completely. Then he leaned forward slightly, eyes searching mine earnestly. "Sarah, you deserve happiness. But at what cost?" The question slipped out before I could stop myself. Doubt crept into my mind like an unwelcome guest. "If you're unhappy with Mark," he paused thoughtfully before continuing softly, "maybe you need to explore what makes you feel alive again." His words resonated deep within me, a call to action wrapped in vulnerability, but fear still gripped my heart tightly as memories flashed through my mind, laughter shared over coffee, dreams discussed under starlit skies, moments now replaced by an emptiness echoing louder than ever before. Just then, Jake reached across the table and took my hand gently, his warmth grounding against the coldness swirling inside me, but before anything else could be said or done, something caught his eye behind me. "What is it?" My pulse quickened instinctively as dread washed over me at his sudden change in demeanor. He turned pale as Mark entered the cafe, his presence commanding attention even amidst bustling patrons unaware of our charged atmosphere unfolding within those four walls. In that instant everything shifted, the tension palpable between us three people entangled by choices made and paths chosen unwittingly leading toward unforeseen consequences looming ahead like dark clouds readying themselves for stormy weather. Mark's eyes locked onto mine across the crowded room, an unspoken challenge flickering between us. And suddenly all thoughts flew from my mind leaving only one undeniable truth. Whatever happened next would irrevocably alter everything we once knew. The air was thick with tension, a palpable mixture of betrayal and confusion swirling around us. Mark's gaze was intense, his expression unreadable as he took a step closer to me. I could sense the weight of his unspoken words hanging in the air, ready to crash down like the storm brewing outside. My heart raced, caught between two worlds, one that felt like a gilded cage and another that promised freedom but was fraught with uncertainty. "Sarah," he began, his voice low but steady. "We need to talk." I nodded, feeling the gravity of the moment. "Yes, we do." My voice came out softer than I intended. I had thought about this conversation countless times, yet now that it was upon us, I felt unprepared. Jake stood nearby, his presence a reminder of everything I had chosen to hide from my husband. His eyes darted between us, concern etched on his face. "Maybe this isn't the best time," he suggested hesitantly. "No," Mark interjected firmly. "If there's something going on, it's better we address it now." The challenge in his tone was unmistakable. I took a deep breath, my mind racing through the implications of what lay ahead. "Mark, Don't," he interrupted sharply. "I need you to listen first." He turned slightly away from me and faced Jake directly. "You've been spending time with my wife." Jake shifted uncomfortably but held Mark's gaze. "It's not what you think," he replied quietly. "Then explain it to me," Mark demanded. As they stood there in this charged standoff, I felt like an outsider in my own life. The truth hung heavy in the air, both men were revealing sides of themselves that I had never seen before. "I care about Sarah," Jake admitted finally, his voice steady despite the tension surrounding us. "But she has her own life." Mark's eyes narrowed slightly as he processed Jake's words. "So you admit it? You've been seeing her behind my back?" "It's complicated," Jake replied defensively. I stepped forward then, feeling an overwhelming urge to defend him even as guilt gnawed at me from within. "Mark, please listen." "No." Mark shouted suddenly, cutting me off again as frustration bubbled over in him. "You don't get to explain anything right now. You both have betrayed me." With those words hanging ominously between us, silence engulfed the room once more. In that moment of stillness, memories flooded back, the laughter we once shared over coffee at our favorite cafe and the warmth of our embraces during quiet evenings at home seemed like distant echoes of a life that no longer existed. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," I said softly as tears pricked at my eyes. "You didn't mean for it?" Mark scoffed bitterly. "You chose this. You chose him." A wave of shame washed over me as I realized how true those words were. Every choice had led us here, to this moment filled with raw emotion and irrevocable truths. "I just wanted to feel something different," I admitted quietly, unable to meet either man's gaze any longer. "Different?" Mark echoed incredulously. "And what about what we built together? What about our family?" The mention of our family struck a chord deep within me. Memories flooded back, our children laughing in the backyard or holiday dinners filled with joy and love, but they felt tainted now by my choices. "I'm sorry," I murmured again as sorrow enveloped me like an old blanket that had frayed over time yet still held warmth within its fibers. Mark sighed heavily before turning back toward Jake once more. "You're not just some passing fancy for her, you're someone she let into our lives." I could see the anger simmering beneath Jake's calm exterior as he folded his arms defensively across his chest. "I didn't ask for any of this either." The storm outside rumbled ominously in response, a fitting backdrop for our confrontation, a reminder that nature mirrored our turmoil perfectly. "Maybe it would be better if you both just walked away from each other," Mark suggested coldly as he turned toward me again with disappointment etched on his face. "No." The word burst out of me before I could stop myself, a plea laced with desperation that caught both men off guard. "I can't just walk away from what we've started," Jake said softly but firmly. "And what exactly is what we've started?" Mark shot back angrily while gesturing between us all wildly now, his frustration spilling over into every word spoken aloud. "It's not just physical, it's emotional too." I blurted out without thinking further, a confession escaping my lips before reason could catch up with it. Mark looked taken aback by my admission, a flicker of pain crossing his features momentarily, but then hardened again quickly into resolve as if bracing himself against some unseen force threatening to topple him entirely. "What do you want then?" he asked finally after a pause filled only by the sound of rain pounding against windows, a relentless reminder that life continued regardless of our turmoil inside these four walls surrounding us now. "I don't know." The admission burst forth like a dam breaking under pressure, raw and unfiltered emotions spilling out uncontrollably amidst all three tangled souls here tonight wrestling against their own truths colliding together violently within this space meant for love once upon a time long ago. "You need to figure it out fast because choices have consequences," Mark warned grimly before turning away from us both entirely, his footsteps echoing down the hallway leading toward uncertainty beyond these walls built around past memories shared so carefully. Jake stepped closer beside me then, the silence stretching taut between us until finally breaking under its own weight after lingering far too long without resolution hanging overhead still like storm clouds threatening rain yet again soon enough. "What happens next?" he asked quietly while searching my eyes deeply almost pleadingly too perhaps in hopes somehow finding clarity amidst chaos swirling all around here tonight still. I wish I knew. My voice trailed off into nothingness leaving only unanswered questions echoing through empty spaces where love once thrived fervently now replaced instead by confusion mingling painfully alongside regret lingering heavily everywhere still. The rain fell harder now, each drop a reminder of the choices I had made. I stood in the midst of the storm, my heart racing as I replayed the events of the evening. The suitcase, filled with Jake's belongings, lay abandoned in our living room. My husband had stormed out without a word, leaving me alone to confront the wreckage of my life. Memories flooded my mind, our first kiss under that downpour in the park, the thrill of stolen moments with Jake, and yet, here I was, facing an emptiness that felt insurmountable. I could still hear my husband's voice echoing in my ears, "You've betrayed me." Those words cut deeper than any rain could wash away. I walked back inside, shaking off droplets like they were remnants of a dream. The living room was eerily quiet now. It felt like a void swallowing everything whole. The suitcase loomed large in my mind, a symbol of everything I had hidden away and everything I had lost. It was filled with reminders of Jake, his favorite jacket, a book he had lent me during one of our late-night talks. Each item whispered secrets that were never meant to be shared. I sank onto the couch, staring at the suitcase as if it might offer some explanation for what had just happened. How had it come to this? My heart raced as I thought about how easily things could have been different if only I hadn't let myself get swept away by desire and longing. Suddenly, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, a text from Jake. "Are you okay?" It was simple enough but carried weight that felt unbearable at that moment. What could I say? How could I explain that everything was spiraling out of control? I typed back hesitantly, "Not really." A moment later came his reply, "I'm coming over." Panic surged through me. Did he not understand the gravity of what had just happened? My hands trembled as I considered how to respond. Before I could think more clearly, another message arrived, "We need to talk." The rain drummed against the windows like an urgent heartbeat as I wrestled with my thoughts. Was there even anything left to salvage? My marriage felt shattered beyond repair, yet here was Jake, ready to confront whatever lay ahead without knowing how deep the chasm between us had grown. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door, urgent and insistent. My heart raced again. Part of me wanted to run and hide from this new reality while another part craved his presence desperately. "Sarah?" His voice came through muffled but clear enough to send shivers down my spine. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door slowly. Jake stood there drenched from head to toe, his eyes wide with concern and something else, something unspoken that hung heavily between us. "Let's talk," he said softly as he stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. The warmth from his body contrasted sharply with the chill that enveloped me. "Jake," my voice faltered as all at once emotions threatened to spill over, the guilt, desire, confusion, it all crashed together like waves against rocks. "Is he gone?" Jake asked abruptly. "Yes," I managed to say despite how raw it felt to utter those words. His gaze fell on the suitcase behind me. Understanding flickered across his face before he masked it with resolve. I saw him leave. "What do you want from me?" The question escaped before I could stop it, frustration mingled with fear in my tone. "I want you," he said simply yet firmly. "But not like this." A silence stretched between us heavy with unspoken truths and unresolved feelings, a chasm wider than any river or ocean separating us now. The rain continued its relentless assault outside as if mirroring our turmoil within. "I can't just walk away from everything," I finally said, feeling more vulnerable than ever under his intense gaze. "You don't have to walk away," he replied earnestly but with an edge of desperation creeping into his voice. "But you need to decide what you truly want." The weight of his words hung in the air like thick fog suffocating clarity. Choices loomed large before me like shadows threatening to swallow me whole again if not confronted head-on. "I don't know." My voice cracked under pressure as tears threatened to spill over, frustration mingled with longing twisted into knots inside me now threatening release yet again. "Then let's figure it out together," he urged gently stepping closer until our breaths mingled in shared space filled only by uncertainty and yearning still lingering just beneath surface tension between us both. But before anything further could unfold, a loud crash echoed outside followed by distant shouting cutting through our fragile moment together, abruptly breaking spell cast around us, suddenly reminding starkly how fragile everything truly was right now. What was that? Fear crept into my voice as we both turned toward window watching rain cascade down obscuring view outside further still. "I don't know," Jake murmured uneasily glancing back toward me searching for answers neither one knew existed anymore either way now. In that instant realization struck hard, whatever this storm brought wouldn't just wash away hurt feelings, nor would it mend broken bonds between us either way fully. Maybe we should go check. His suggestion hung heavy-laden uncertainty still lingering thickly surrounding us both too tightly even amidst chaos raging outside too. Before we could move another sound erupted outside, a scream piercing through night air sending chills racing down spine, leaving no doubt remaining something deeper lay ahead waiting beyond threshold where darkness awaited. And just like that, everything shifted again, plunging us deeper into unknown territory where choices weighed heavier than ever before, leaving no easy path forward intact anymore either way. Left standing there amidst torrential downpour, clinging desperately on to hope while knowing very well consequences awaited regardless whichever direction chosen next either way too.